What's the biggest 180 you've seen a person's life take? My niece went from being a meth-addicted felon who couldn't take care of her kids and bouncing in and out of jail to a respectable, reliable member of society. There was no fanfare. She just quietly went about changing her life. Most of us had just sort of written her off as a lost cause. My sister, her mother, had actually assumed legal custody of her kids. And she just changed. She did what she needed to do to get her life back on track. It took a while, but it's one of the most amazing and remarkable turnarounds I have ever seen. My brother's friend grew up with a pretty rough home life. As a result, he spent a lot of time at my house and he more or less became an additional sibling and child in our house. My parents even offered to let him live with us after he graduated high school. Fortunately for him, he was able to get a full ride to a prestigious university and made friends with a bunch of rich guys there who let him live in their nice shared rental and would often gift him experiences or gently used really nice things. He graduated with honors and made 6 figures out of college. He's since gotten married and made a life for himself in our hometown. I don't know how much contact he has with his family, but he's still close to mine. I knew a guy in college who was a student on track to become a doctor. But he was miserable and burned out. One day, he dropped out, moved to a small town, and started a woodworking business. He's now incredibly happy making custom furniture and says it's the best decision he ever made. My brother spent his late teens and mid-20s being a lying, thieving, directionless bum who flunked out of college despite being extremely bright. Then one day he just decided enough was enough. A switch flipped in his brain or something, and he went back to school for electrical engineering, graduated one of the top of his class, and has a stable, well-paying career, and his relationship with the family has never been better. I couldn't be more proud of him. It's more common to see the mighty fall than it is to see someone climb from the bottom to the top. I commend those people. My sister, she had a string of bad boyfriends in high school and one of them got her into drugs. She married a guy after knowing him for 8 days. He was an abusive asshole who abandoned her, so she turned to her dealer, who she married after her divorce from guy number 1. They had a kid and got busted selling drugs and storing there under the baby crib. Kid got taken by the state. Sister and husband went to jail. Sister realized she fucked up. Sister vows to make a change. She goes to rehab and goes through every step she needed to get her kid back. Junkie husband won't change. Sister gets pregnant with kid number 2 but leaves him before kid number 2 is born. They get divorced. She stays clean, remarried to an amazing guy, lands a good job and has another kid. 19 years sober. I'm so fucking proud of her. A friend of mine, good kid if a bit rambunctious and a bit of a troublemaker. Definitely on the track to a solid living as he could fix anything and was always keeping himself busy tinkering with things. Not book smart, but definitely not someone who would struggle to survive if left to his own devices. He was in an accident that left him with a severe TBI among other things. Long story short, he ends up hooked on drugs and was in and out of rehabs and constantly getting into trouble. Good news though is he pulled another 180 out of his ass and is now clean for years. Has a family, and though still dumber than a box of rocks, is living the good life. I'm proud of that moron through and through. A friend who had a crazy meth habit, year in prison, drug court school, got a job, swore of drugs, moved to be closer to his only son, cleaned up successfully and started working with a local group that helped wayward youth get off of drugs and be clean. 3 years ago I was totally paralyzed due to a neurological condition. Totally bedridden, dependent on carers. As of this month, I am almost a qualified teacher and ran my first SK. A doctor told me years ago to accept my life for what it was. I never stopped fighting, and now you'd never know anything was ever wrong with me. Dear friend used to be a self-centered banker crypto bro with vile views on women. He was wealthy at a young age and even had an actual, honest-to-God marriage of convenience trophy wife. He was driving alone on a rural road in the holidays and had a car accident where it flipped. He got some head trauma from that, but also the heat in the car went on and out of control. So, it turned into heat stroke that became an actual stroke. Took him 3 months to get out of a coma. He wasn't good at math anymore and had a soft and friendly personality. Like, unusually so, for him. He also immediately demanded to be given drawing supplies. He didn't have a lot of memories of before and still doesn't. He's not rich anymore, is a professional artist now. And Hearn and his trophy wife fell in love for real. He's extremely happy. He threw out all of his business suits. Wears exclusively Hawaiian shirts. Has a bunch of dogs. Is bisexual and makes erotic ceramics. Old friend of mine was rootless and disconnected. She started feeding the homeless and found her calling. I'm proud to have answered her first request for items for the homeless. I sent bundles of gym socks. Now, she's internet famous. Her non-profit is completely driven by donations via social media. She's won several awards. She's provided the connective tissue for many people to move forward. Biggest 180 I've ever seen. Probably mine. Went from alcoholic dead-end job in jail to college graduate and middle school teacher with master's degree. My own when my wife and I got divorced. Changed my style. Changed back to an old career path. And changed my life for the better. Nothing against my ex-wife. We just wanted different things. She's doing well and so aren't I. I know a guy whose daughter disowned him and wouldn't return phone calls or letters for 10 years. After he sobered up for a few years, his ex-wife let him come back into their lives. He ended up walking his daughter down the aisle and is literally a pillar in his community today. They seen the other kind of 180 too. But I'd rather think about the good ones. My life after I took my wife's advice and talked to my doctor about taking antidepressants. That combined with individual therapy and couples therapy. I didn't see it after first until one day she made a comment that was something like, "It's like you're a different person." Little things that used to set me off and cause me to be miserable for hours or days are nothing. Looking back, it's clear I should have done this sooner.